I'm going to give you our social media strategy to grow to 100 million views per month. Right now, we're averaging about 6 million views per month. I'm going to show you how we're doing it. You don't need any additional tools. You don't have to pay for anything to do this. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is the tool that we use. So if you look at it right here, this is in the month of November, and we're pushing into 2025. So 64 million impressions. That's 5.81 million per month. So the proof is in the pudding over here. Nobody's lying about it. And plus, this doesn't include the LinkedIn impressions as well. And plus, this also doesn't include podcast impressions. Let's start off with Instagram over here. The cool thing about doing this video is that I'm going to send this to my brand team as well, and they're going to execute on this, right? I think to focus on what's working well first, we can see the videos that took off this year. So for example, we have this one with Ryan Reynolds. What I'll say about this one is that the hook is really strong.
Take Ryan Reynolds, for example. He realizes, wait a second, you're paying me $1 million to do a commercial. So this has to be worth more than $1 million to you. How much more? 1.2? 2 million? 4 million? I don't know. Let's find out. Right?
So he goes, the hook for this video is really good, right? So basically, Nathan Barry, so I do an interview with him. The visual hook, if you look at it, if I click out of this over here, you can see this one decision made Ryan Reynolds over $100 million. And it starts off with like, okay, that's kind of interesting. It's like, well, wait a minute, you're paying me $1 million for this. It must mean the ad's worth a lot more. You're getting way more value out of it. Okay, I want to participate in the value, right? So that gets people interested. And you look at the performance of this one, about 38,000 likes or so, 2 million plays, reached about 1.1 million accounts. It was shared 1,400 times and then saved about 2,200 times or so, right? And I got 1,400 follows from this. Now, this is cool because this is talking about business. And when you're thinking about the work that you're doing, you have to think about your ideal client profile or maybe your ideal viewer profile. And for me, I have an ad agency called Single Grain, and we're trying to drive more performance marketing clients at the end of the day. So this type of video it's not only educational, it's also entertaining as well. So this is the sweet spot that we have, right? Obviously, it takes a lot of work to set up this interview. Nathan lives in Idaho. I live in LA, and then we happen to be at a mastermind together. So we did this interview, and this video got 2 million views. So that's pretty good, right? I think that's a good example of what went well. And I would say this one too, when I'm telling the story specifically around, hey, here's how this person went from 500 views to 30 million views or so. And we have a good visual hook over here. Do you know the difference between a 30 million view video versus a 500 view video?
No.
Okay. So then I started off and with that's a pretty good hook, basically saying, hey, do you know the difference? And then we have someone on the other side saying no. And then I go into the story, right? So the hook matters, the visual hook matters, right? If you can see, people can see the headline, maybe you have some visuals when it starts off. And then the way I do a audio hook, that matters quite a bit too. And then if you can go into the story, that's also great as well. And a bonus for you when you're telling a story, if you think about how the South Park founders tell their stories, you have to think about, it's not if someone's saying, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's like a little child talking, right? And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It gets boring. It gets monotonous after that. But if you are talking about something, it's like this happened, but then this happened over here, and but then this happened over here, and therefore this happened, that's a lot more interesting because you're creating tension in the story, right? So the more that you can increase or include tension in your story, the better it's going to perform. And there is tension in that story because initially this guy spent a lot of video effort or editing effort on a video, and he thought it would do well, and it didn't do well. So like he thought it would do well. He put a lot of effort into it, but it didn't do well. So then he made this change, and then therefore he went from 500 views to 30 million views, and that's how it happened, right? That's a lot more interesting. And again, this is both of these videos are edutainment. So it's proof to me that if we can educate and we can entertain, and we're talking about things that people are going to, this is going to get views, and it's also going to hit people that are interested in growing their business and doing better at marketing. This is kind of the sweet spot because it's going to hit a wider audience, plus it's going to help generate leads at the end of the day, right? Or this video over here, it didn't get as many views, but the reason I pinned it, because I have other videos that got more views this year, and I'll talk about what didn't work. But so this one, 146K views. So what I like about this one is that you can see that the visual hook stays, and you can argue that maybe we should keep the visual hook for a little longer. So it's like, oh, okay, well, the results up here, we got 60 million views. Well, or this agency got 60 million views. And then I start talking about the agencies, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 pieces of content, right? right across these channels. And here's the thing. I talked to someone yesterday that's spending $35,000 to $40,000 a month for like 5,000 pieces a month, right? I'm like, tell me how it's going right now. They guaranteed 30 million views, right? In a span of 90 days. When you talk about this, I said there's agencies out there, and then, right, there are agencies there are people that are paying 35 to 40 grand a month. And that is the end then. And then there's kind of a dare for it. So there's not much of a but here, right? This video, I would say, the reason why I don't think it did better is because it's really short, right? So there's not a lot of tension with it, and it's a lot shorter. So if you have a longer form video, it's going to get better retention. But I still like this video because a lot of people commented saying, who's the agency? Who's the agency? Who's the agency? So what that goes to show me is that when we start to talk about examples, hey, there's this agency that did this. Hey, there's this agency that did this. Guess what's going to happen? People are going to ask for who the agency is. And my friend likes to call that eavesdrop marketing, where it's almost like when you're listening to a podcast or you're listening to a conversation, you're eavesdropping in and you hear something. So, wait, what is that? I want to learn about that. And that's what it is. And so, okay, that's kind of what went well. And maybe it's also worth talking about these quote tweets over here are seemingly, they're doing better than the other ones, right? In terms of views at the end of the day. You know, this one got, I think, 9,000 views or so. So not as much as like 1 million or 2 million or so. But, you know, if you look at this one, 6,400 views versus like 1,400 over here, or this one with 8,600 views or so, that means we should be doing more of it. If you find something working, you should be doing more of it. So arguably, we should be doing more edutainment. We probably should be scripting out the videos a little more, and I should be doing more direct to camera videos like this when it comes to shorts. And so, okay, that's great. I just showed you what went well, but I'm going to talk about what didn't go well, because this is what we're going to change, and this is how we're going to go from 6 million views a month or so to 100 million views a month. If you're an agency owner and you want to grow faster, check out the Agency Owners Association that's hosted by my podcast co-host, Neil Patel, and myself. And we have other agency owners that are doing 8 figures a year. They were doing 9 figures a year. They sold their business for hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're going to share their experiences with you. There's a whole host of other benefits. And the cool thing is that there's a 7-day free trial, and you should check it out now because we're going to take the prices up. So just go to marketingschool.io/agency to learn more, and we'll see you inside. So if we look at this one, okay, so I did this interview with my friend Pom. You don't create your company ethos. First and foremost, how interesting is that hook? It's not that interesting, right? I think the heuristic you want to use here is, if the hook's not that interesting, don't publish it. If you're not going to share that video with people that are maybe into that subject, marketing or whatever it is, you shouldn't be publishing it, right? And so arguably, we should be focusing more on the idea itself, because that's what matters the most, right? The idea, the content, that's what matters most. But then also ones that are high impact at the end of the day. So if click on this one and see what happens.
Keith Roboy, he's got this quote. He says, you don't create your company ethos, you just document them. So if you sit down and you're like, oh, we're going to move fast, we're going to do that, like whatever, nobody gives a shit.
And plus that shit changes every 60 days too.
Of course.
Okay.
But if you sit down and you say, what do we
So
actually?
This is a little business snippet. Again, the hook is not that interesting, and there's not much of a story behind it. And that's why this video didn't do well. And so let's move on to this one over here. Let's look at, I actually originally shared the concept of AO, Chief Automation Officer, in 2021. So basically, it's a scrappy, semi-technical generalist. The concept of, so the problem with this one is that the hook, the visual hook is not that interesting. Okay, that's one piece of it. The other piece is I'm reading off of a tweet. That's not that engaging as well, right? So I'm not really telling a story here. I'm kind of just regurgitating something. So I could have packaged this better, but this is from a podcast episode. But that tells me I shouldn't be reading tweets anymore. And instead, I should be asking the question, do you know what a chief automation officer is? And then go into it, right? And then I could be giving some examples of how companies could be using this. So just putting a little more thought into it. I guarantee if I made a video on this, I guarantee you one experiment we'll try looking at a bunch of videos that didn't perform well here, and I'll package it and I'll spend a lot more time on it. And I guarantee you that's going to perform better at the end of the day. And so, okay, that one didn't work. Let's look at one more that didn't work that well. And then let's look at some that kind of worked. Okay. So is it too late to buy Bitcoin? This one's interesting because it came out as Bitcoin's continuing to rise. So let's take a look at this. People are like, oh, it's too late right now to get in on Bitcoin. How long do people have? I mean, people are like, oh, it's too volatile. It's taking too long to wind up. It's taking too long to wind up. We should have cut this portion out with me in it and gone from there. And part of me is like, why don't we just take these transcripts and then dump it in ChatGPT and say, hey, we want to have the most engagement possible with this. What parts of the script should we cut out? What parts are extraneous? right?
Why didn't I, pay more attention the first time I heard about this? Man, I was early.
Didn't
right?
need all that crap I said. So maybe could have started on the 2016 portion. In 2016, I thought it was too late, right? And then it's like, but then this happened. So that, like, I wonder if that would have performed better, right? And so I think it's being a little more methodical, because that one got 2,600 likes. I think the timing was right too, because this was in a period where Bitcoin was about to hit 100,000 or so. So that's that, right? Now, let's go off to one that seemed like it had more potential. So it says game changer for marketers, right? So let's click on this one. And it got 541 likes. I started playing with bolt.new. Okay, make me an app that will come up with viral packaging for my YouTube videos. So come up with, so this one worked in my opinion, because one, the viral hook is or at least the headline is game changer for marketers. And then immediately I like what my team did here, where we put in the app itself saying, make me an app that will come up with viral packaging. So basically it shows it kind of in action. When you show it in action, it's a lot more tangible. And that's why I believe this one did pretty well, because if you look at it here, okay, so 17,000 plays or so, got 784 saves and 493 shares. So what that tells me is, one, if I'm able to show an example and then talk about AI at the same time, that's going to do pretty well. And here's the thing. We tried to repackage this one because I brought up to the team, I thought we could do better with the packaging. So I looked at a video on YouTube that did really well, saying this AI tool might be bigger than ChatGPT. So we just copied the packaging over there. It actually didn't do as well. So if you look at it here, I started playing with bolt.new. It crafted like a UI for me and everything was perfect. And then it also spotted when there were like errors with the code. Okay, make me an app that will come up with. I don't think it was as engaging in the beginning as I thought it would be. And I don't think the headline was as strong, right? So I talked about what went well, what didn't go so well, and this is what we're going to change about it. So one, we're going to be testing more. We're going to be a lot more methodical about how we're doing this. Two, we're going to be doubling down on what's working, such as these quote tweets. And the third thing is, again, if we put more effort into the storytelling piece, the packaging piece, having a good hook, having a good visual headline, okay? That's what I was trying to say, not viral headline, but visual hook. So you want to have a visual hook, and you want to have a good audio hook coming into it, and then you want to be able to tell a good story and have tension in that story. That's going to do a lot better than other stuff. And what I would say is, over this year, I had a lot of videos. It worked well, and also it didn't. But there's some videos that got 4, 5, 6 million, 7 million views or so from a shorts perspective, and those, they drove a lot of views, but ultimately they didn't drive any leads or any business or things like that. So ideally, I want to be making content for my ideal client profile, or trying to hit the best of both worlds, right? And I think to say that, oh, my niche doesn't have a lot of reach, I think is lazy. I think we're just not performing at the end of the day, and we just need to do a better job of looking at things and being more vigilant about what we allow to be posted, right? So let's go with one more, and then I'm going to move on from this one. So let's go with the power of focus.
Let's talk about focus and then really the lessons that you learned from that.
In my 20s, read a lot of books, right? You see over and over in the books, oh, you Warren Buffett, focus. Put all your eggs into one basket. Like,
Yes.
you watch it like a hawk. Bill Gates, everybody. It's just like focus. And you don't really take it seriously until you get punched in the face. And I got punched in the face multiple times. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like playing multiple games. I like doing multiple things. It just,
the visual hook was okay. I think the opening hook with Jasmine was pretty good. I think I just didn't have much of a story there. This is more so I was talking at a high level, and I don't think we really, the so what wasn't really there, right? So that's what it is with Instagram. I think you can see the ones that perform well versus the ones that don't. Like this Trump versus Harris one, the podcast interviews. This one did better. It was an outlier versus, because usually these reels are getting anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 views or so. We got to do a lot better than the average. So let's just click on this one and we'll move on. Did you see Kamala Harris podcast views versus Trump's podcast views?
No.
Okay. So Kamala Harris did an 18 seconds on this one, which is higher than the other ones. And I would say a good amount of shares, good amount of saves. And I think the visual hook is okay. And then the audio hook is okay too, because they said, did you hear about what happened with these podcasts? I could have done better. I could have said, whoa, Joe Rogan got way more views than the Donald Trump interview with Joe Rogan got way more views than the Kamala Harris one with Call Her Daddy, right? That might have been more interesting. and we could have tested
Views
it.
versus Trump's podcast views?
No.
Okay, so Kamala Harris did an interview with Call Her Daddy. So she got 700,000 views, and then Trump did.
So
Rogan.
I do kind of go into the discrepancy here, but let's see what happens.
Search for the Trump Joe Rogan podcast, and it wasn't coming up. YouTube claims that it was because too many people reported it, and so they just made it invisible, and that's what tends to happen. I don't know if I buy that, but even if though it got censored, he still has over 40 million views versus 700,000. Our point of saying all this is, oh, we support Kamala Harris or Trump. No, it's more so Trump's brand is just really strong, and I think he's got like this rabid fan base behind him. And so when you built like this cult following, the numbers reflect it at the end of the day.
His brand is polarizing.
Yes, and polarizing gets views.
So this one, I think it was not bad because it was about 40 seconds or so, and a story was completed here, and there was some tension. There was a but, and I think in this case, we look at it, and maybe what we can do is we can try to refine the hook, the initial hook, and maybe the video will take off, right? Because again, if you look back on the video, this one from 500 views to 30 million views, the big takeaway from that one was that he added a visual hook, and the video took off from there. So sometimes you just make a little tweak, and then things will do a lot better. I think for us, the biggest mistake was kind of resting on our laurels and just doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I've said this over and over, but this is an Einstein quote, but doing the same thing over and over and expecting change is the definition of insanity. So I think there's potential here, right? I think there's a lot to be proud of in terms of how we've grown this channel, the Instagram, over the year. And I think there's a lot more room for growth if we're a lot more intentional about how we're doing things.
All right, quick note. This is about my company. It's called Single Grain, and Single Grain is an ad agency where we're focused on driving innovation. And so I want to talk about a couple of new strategies, and if you need help with marketing, great. If not, here are a couple of new strategies that you should try out. One is programmatic CRO. So we are doing programmatic conversion rate optimization on our site. We're building products that will automatically optimize your site to increase conversion rates. We're also auto-optimizing, auto-updating from an SEO standpoint. And we're constantly thinking about what else we can do in terms of enriching the visitors that are hitting your website and also tailoring custom messages for them using AI. And so there's a handful of things that we're doing from a marketing standpoint, and our mission is just to drive more innovation. So if you want to learn more, just go to singlegrain.com, grain like rice. So singlegrain.com to learn more, and we'll see you inside.
So that's Instagram. Now, I want to bring your attention to YouTube. So what about 163,000 subs? And then if you look at our channelytics over here, the last 28 days, we got about 211K views, and then 116K long form, and then 100K our short form, and then got about 2K subs or so. Okay. This is viewstats.com. Anybody can use this. I'm not paying for this. But you can see our monthly views have gone down, right? So January, we got 4.8 million, and then 3 million, and then 5.1 million or so, right? And then it started going down more and more. So I'll tell you the what worked well and what didn't for this year, and why it was so high, and then why it's kind of dropped down, and why I prefer it to be a little lower or significantly lower than what it was before. And you can see we gained a lot of subscribers here, right? But that's not necessarily something that's always a good thing. And so what I would say is, if you look at this year, and let's actually look at the most popular, we'll start off with that. And then I would say, okay, check this out. So 11 months ago, which is this year, or maybe this was in December, but it really started to take off in January or so. Yeah, this was in January. So this interview I did with Vivian 2, your rich BFF, it got 661,000 views. This is one of her top interviews that she did in terms of view count, right? And that's great, but I'm talking to a personal finance person. And you got to think again, my ideal customer, and I guess I'm starting with the things that worked but also didn't work here, is I got 661,000 views, but at the end of the day, that's not my ideal customer, because I'm not, people that are looking to personal finance, they usually aren't the decision makers at, let's say, a mid-market to enterprise company that needs help with performance marketing. And so you can argue that, okay, I got the views, but what did that do for my business? Not much, right? So 661,000 views, and I didn't put any ads in this one. So what we did learn later in the year was that we put in mid-rolls for all these long-form interviews. So if they got a lot of views, we can still get, well, hopefully we get impressions, or not hopefully, we will get impressions, right, for the business, which is Single Grain. Now, this relationship psychologist, Orion Taraban, who's very well-spoken, very articulate, he gets a lot of views. So this one got 340,000 views. Okay, again, we're talking about dating over here. And it was an interesting conversation. It was fun, But again, what's it going to do to help my business, right? And so you can see the ones where I did another one with him because he had a book coming out and I'm friends with him, 246,000 views, which is great. And then we have Humphrey Yang over here talking about the 401ks and things like that. So these got a lot of views, but they didn't drive any business at the end of the day. Now, versus this video I did 5 years ago, top careers in marketing, or how to write cold emails that always get read, how to pitch your first marketing campaign. Those have all got a lot of views. And this Alex Hormozy one and Layla Hormozy, they're business people. So, and they have, pretty smart business people that watch their stuff. So I would say those are pretty good. We just didn't have the mid rolls in there. So I would say what changed throughout the year is I've learned that, I've been doing podcasting for 11 years now, and it's really fun to do podcasts, but make sure that you have to ask yourself what the goal is at the end of the day. Is it to get views or is it to drive business? And if it's to drive business, then you have to reconsider your content formats. And so now we've changed it to a lot of podcasts with other people that have audiences. Like I did Brian Johnson this year, Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk. You can focus on people with large audiences, but they have to be relevant to whatever it is that you're trying to sell if you're trying to get business. So my mandate now is I'm going to spend 80% of my time making content where I'm teaching, such as this one, where I'm showing you what's going on. I'm kind of walking around the journey, walking you along with me. And 20% of the time, I might interview purely business people. So for example, I have my friend Jessica Ma. She's going to be popping up. We're going to be doing an interview in about a week or so. She's worth about $500 million, and she's a very strong entrepreneur. A couple weeks ago, I had Anthony Pompliano, and then I had Seth Godin as well. Those are people that are in business, in marketing, and I want to go deeper on business because that's what I like. I want to go deeper on marketing. And you can see this one, Seth Godin, The Real Future of Marketing with Seth Godin, 27,000 views. I'll take that one over 1 million views or 2 million, 3 million views where it's not relevant for my audience. And the Seth Godin one is great because he's a legend in marketing, right? So Gary Vaynerchuk is a legend in marketing. And I love Mark Manson over here. I love that, he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F, and he's very popular in that respect. But again, that's not going to do much for my business, right? So that's the big thing. And so there's kind of hey, that's what went well, but also that's what didn't go well. And also you have to consider that when you're doing podcasts with other people, if you're trying to establish yourself as an authority, and again, I just love learning. It was a very pure thing, but you also have to understand that you're propping them up. You're putting them onto, you're growing their brand at the end of the day, right? And you have to understand that. If you're okay with that, that's great. But if you're trying to get more business and if you're trying to establish yourself as an authority because people trust people when they do business, then you should probably spend more time teaching. At least that's what we're doing. And then maybe 20% of the time you're bringing in other people where you can learn. But because it's such a high level business conversation, you have high level business people that are watching it, right? So there are great podcasts out there, such as Acquired, such as Founders, and they talk about business at a high level. People that do well in business are executives, for example. They love listening to that stuff, right? And that's what it is at the end of the day. And what I would say is, if you look at what really helped us grow, it was the shorts through this year, right? So most of these subs came through shorts, and that's fine. But what's more valuable to us is long form videos such as this one. And that's not saying we don't do shorts, but the long form videos, that's how you build relationships at scale. And that's great. That's what you want to focus on, right? You're trying to get more leverage from your time. And so, I have this video over here, complete SEO keynote, complete AI SEO strategy for 2025. This is 30 minutes. This is the talk I did at HubSpot. And this was in front of about 700 people or so. And there's about 20,000 people at the conference. And so even though this one only got 1,600 views, I'll take that over a video that got 600,000 views because this is establishing me more as an authority. And this is talking about something that's deeper, AI SEO. If you're searching for AI SEO, you're probably going to watch this more deeply, right? And so, for example, this one over here, build anything with AI marketing agents. Here's how. We go into more in depth here. It's 1,900 views or so, but I feel better about that content. And the thing with YouTube is they're going to penalize you if you start talking about a bunch of random things. So if you go back to the most popular content I had in the past 5 years ago or so, it's when I just focus on marketing, I got a lot of views that way, right? I should go back to just focusing on marketing and maybe business to an extent. And that's what it is. But if you look at it most recently, for example, this one over here, this is what didn't work so well. This 90-minute interview with Pomp, we need to repackage this one. We need to think about how we can do better there. And then we need to think about how we can repackage this one too. So it's doing okay. We can do better with it, but we need to think about repackaging it. And that means writing better headlines, writing better thumbnails, thinking about the 30-second retention or so, maybe republishing it. And this one over here, was also another interview that I did, and this was about 90 minutes or so, where I was doing the teaching. But maybe we say 95% of marketers fail, avoid these deadly mistakes, right? Maybe that's what it is. Or marketing agencies, for example. So I should think about repackaging it. I don't think the headline's that interesting too here. So we're not spending enough time on the packaging straight up. And that's more so perhaps on me than anything, because when I'm making a video, I should be the one that's coming up with the idea and the packaging first and then handing it to the team, right? But I would say after I do a talk, at least I should give them the first idea and they can work off of that. But at the same time, I have to balance my responsibilities with running a business. And so that's that. I would say that one other mistake that we made is we had a YouTube consultant come in, and he's great. It just wasn't a fit for our channel, because you can see that in terms of brand guidelines, you can see there's consistency here with these thumbnails, and then it changes over here and it changes over here. By the way, I really like this one. This one's kind of a change as well. But the thing is, he's younger. He's taking what's worked for his other channels in finance and carrying it over, but it all kind of looks the same. And, again, we have kind of our brand guidelines, and you can see, sometimes these videos work well, sometimes they don't. That's what I would say, right? And so, look, these videos are I'm happy doing these book reviews. I'm happy doing videos like this where I'm going into a little more depth here, and I'm thinking out loud with you. I'm workshopping this, and I'm auditing how we're doing things, right? And I'm saying, hey, it seems that the thing that didn't work so well for us was that we just have been mindlessly publishing without thinking too much about the packaging. And the one thing I'll say about business is that the more involved you are as the founder, the better things are going to be. And this is signaling to me that I need to be more involved, because when you expect someone to just kind of do it, they're not going to just build your business for you, because you're the one that cares the most. If you can at least be there to push people, and you can be there to light a fire under people, and also help people understand that, hey, I'm going to help you get better. But also, if we can't get better over a period of time, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, there has to be consequences at the end of the day, because we're here to do good work. And if we can't do good work, then that's on us at the end of the day, right? And so I would say, look, I think I'm happy that we got to 163K subscribers, and I'm happy that we started the year strong, and we had some outliers with videos, and some months with a lot of views. I'm still happy about the performance with even the 116K long form views for the month. That's pretty damn good, right? I'll take that. So I think really the key takeaway for both of these is, one, you have to look at your analytics to audit, hey, where were the things that went well, and why did they go well, and how do we do more of that? And 2, what are the things that didn't go well? How do we stop doing those things? So for us, it's doubling down on what's working for Instagram on these quote tweets over here, these quote reels, I should say. It's doubling down on edutainment. Okay, so having a good visual hook, having a good audio hook, and then telling good stories and having tension in there and getting to the point quickly. Those seem to work well. Let's just do more of that. And then the other thing is having guidance on, hey, if you're not going to share this with your friends, if this is not good enough to share with your friends or other marketers, if you don't think this will make you look good when you share it, just don't share it. And that means we need to spend more time on the packaging itself, so we're comfortable putting it out there. It doesn't mean don't publish more. It means we need to spend more time on the packaging, and that means maybe we need to train the team more, and that's what it is. And so going over here, if we look at the videos again and we see, okay, what does this tell us? We need to focus more on what feels good when you push it out there. This Seth Godin one, it feels good. Even though this Anthony Pompliano one, it didn't do well, we need to repackage it, but it feels good. This AI SEO strategy that we put out there, it feels good. What do we need to do to repackage these to make it work better? How can we republish these? How can we make the 30-second impressions, the 30-second retention get better? How can we do better headlines, better thumbnails? How can we cut up the content more where it doesn't meander for as long, and maybe a 1 hour and a half episode becomes 30 to 45 minutes or so? That's how we get better at the end of the day, right? That's what I would say. So look, if you like these styles where I'm doing audits, maybe I'll audit our SEO, maybe I'll audit our other marketing channels and give instructions there. Leave a comment below on what you'd like to see me audit next, because trust me, it really helps me guide my topic ideation. And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.